Hey Jabbers, today we're diving into a little mini-sode. I really want to share this experience that I had at a retreat recently in Minnesota. I'm going to give you kind of my takeaways, and Kari and I are just going to have a little chit chat. But first, we want to read a few amazing reviews we've received from some of our listeners.
So Caitlin says, Carrie and Gabby are super knowledgeable and so fun to listen to. Been loving their advice and stories as a woman interested in business, and especially after going through the wedding planning process. Can't recommend enough. And Emily says, as someone who works in the wedding industry, it is so important for me to always keep up with the trends and ways to better the service I give to clients. I love this podcast because it provides a real-time perspective on the current industry while also bringing us back to the core of weddings, the people. I have been loving listening on my way to work to get me set up to have a successful day.
Oh, I love that. If you guys want us to read your review on air, um, feel free to send us a DM, screenshot your review, and we'll make sure to shout you out on the next episode. Thanks so much, you guys. So, okay, Carrie, I feel like we've talked a little bit off air, but I want to chat about this retreat I went to. I keep calling it a retreat. I call it a mastermind. I call it a conference. Essentially, what it is I am part of the Abundance Group, which is a small group of maybe 30-ish people. There is one man, but there's 29 women. Um, and it's led by our coach that we call her, Ashley Ebert. And she is a former wedding planner. She has this huge planning company called Simply Elegant. I think they have 30 or 40 planners. They do over 400 weddings in a year, and she makes over $1 million in revenue. And she shares all those numbers. And I'm like, goals. Although I will say, I don't think I want to manage that many planners. Would you?
No, 400 weddings a year. That feels insane to me.
You're not doing those. You're not, it's
Right.
others,
No, totally. How many people does she have on her team?
like
Do you
30 or
know?
40.
My gosh.
I know. And that's just like 30 or 40 planners in multiple cities. She does have a person who oversees the scheduling and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff, because and payments, I'm sure, and all that, because I
Yeah.
feel like that alone would be a full-time job.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know. I think I want that on a smaller scale. But my point
Yeah.
is, she is what I aspire to turn because we can events into, but
Sure.
on like we said, on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And so I've always gravitated towards her as a person I look up to and love how she educates. She's so friendly and so open and doesn't gatekeep anything, which in this day
Mhm.
and age I think is hard to come by sometimes. Um, so all that to say, I joined her mastermind in the fall, and I think Carrie, I had told you
Yeah.
about it. And the mastermind itself, like if we just did the mastermind, I think it would be so valuable without this conference. We Voxer every day. We have a group Voxer. We have a one-on-one Voxer just with her, and I can ask her anything about everything. I mean, we were just talking about some legal stuff. I talked to her. She talked me off the ledge when I had my abusive client, just a million things. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, and the community, the other people that are in the group are all wedding professionals. So obviously a lot of wedding planners. The man that's in the group's a DJ. He owns a big DJ company in Minnesota. They do photo, video, and photo booth as well. But and then there's florists, there's stationary people. Like it's diverse enough, but of course a majority planners.
Hmm.
And anyway, so she hosts a conference, two conferences a year, two in-person masterminds, if you will. And this one was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've never been in my life. And we were at the Mall of America, which have you ever been?
Yeah. Well, I have family that lives there. My oldest brother lives in Minneapolis, but yeah, I've been there a couple of times. So it was funny seeing your stories because I was like, oh, she's experiencing it.
No, legit. Like we stayed at the hotel that was
It's
attached to the mall.
oh nice. Yeah.
I don't think I saw sunlight for 4 days, although there are skylights, so
Yeah.
that's probably incorrect. I did see some sunlight. But man, what a fascinating experience.
Hmm.
The Mall of America experience was better than I thought. I'm not a huge shopper and I'm not a big like roller coaster type person, but
Hmm.
watching all of it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
So
Is
is that
it, I haven't been there in a long time. Was it busy?
no, no, because
Because
I think we were just came out of Easter, and so the big holidays were gone. I didn't find it busy at all.
it's so interesting because I mean, this is a totally different subject, but I feel like malls are dying, right? Like in-person shopping. So it's fascinating that that still is like existing and thriving, I guess, in a sense. That large of a mall. But
Yeah. Well, fun story. The DJ is local to the area, and he
mm.
was saying, so there's a Sears that's still in the mall.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
out of business, but they still rent that space because it's so cheap. They got a 100-year lease back when the mall was first created, and it's so cheap that they tried to sublet it to another company because they could make so much money, and the mall said no, and they said, "Fine, we'll just keep paying to rent this empty space." And it's like prime real estate because
Oh
it's a
my
huge
God.
section. I know,
Yeah.
it's so crazy.
I was like, yeah, Sears isn't a store anymore, is it?
No, no, it's
That's
an empty
crazy.
space. But I will say that they told us that the Easter weekend was packed. So I think we were just there on a from Monday to Thursday.
Yeah, I
So,
guess during the week. Yeah.
yeah, it was the off week, or off time.
Anywho, back to the
Anywho, enough
just
about the
some
mall.
tidbits on the mall.
Okay, so we spent 2 full days at this conference. The first day, we talked about stuff like advanced SEO strategies. And if you guys know Sarah does SEO, her name's Sarah Dunn. Kari, I feel like you've seen her at like wedding summits and online.
Okay.
She participates a lot in that. And she is the go-to queen of SEO. She only focuses on wedding SEO. She even said that someone approached her recently for their like beauty studio. And she said, no, I only do weddings. Um, and really, what she shared is back to blogging. I'm like, yes, tell us more about blogging because there are now people that are researching their wedding professionals in ChatGPT. And in order to be found, yeah, and that's the thing is like they're going to ChatGPT and they're like, hey, I'm looking for the best wedding planner in Nashville, but I want them to be within this budget. I want them to focus on non-traditional weddings, et cetera, et cetera. So these keywords are really important. And in order to be found in that, not only does our website have to reflect those keywords on the front page, and so we did some one-on-one sessions with her where she walked us through like, okay, let's make sure you put this keyword there. Let's make sure you describe it in the footer of your website,
Oh,
who you are and what you do and what locations you serve. That I added that literally that day because I did not have that. Um,
I'm gonna
and
pull up your website because I'm so curious. I want to like see
yeah,
what you're talking about in real
yeah, I
time.
didn't make all the edits yet, but I did do the
Okay.
footer portion. Um, and then the other thing was blogging. So I've said this before when I've talked about Pinterest, but this was reiterated again, and it just makes sense to me. But when couples are searching on Google, they're starting with location specifics, right? So they're looking at cities and the word wedding venue, and they're looking specifically for inspiration about their wedding venue. But more importantly, like as planners, we get a lot of referrals from wedding venues. So
Hmm.
if we can blog about wedding venues in our city or a city that we're targeting, and make it a very deep, comprehensive list, we are more likely to pop up in searches. Now, not only should we be saying, here are 5 venues in Nashville that we like and just list them, we
Right.
could be making this a 10 to 20 to 30 bullet pointed list of all those venues and also specifically adding our 2 cents to it. So being like, hey, you know, we worked here. last year, and we realized that the load in can be really tricky. So our tip is to stagger your vendors, X, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So
Right.
adding some personalized tips to show that you're the expert, no matter what you are, planner, photographer, like you can add your 2 cents to that. And also linking to another blog post of yours where you maybe did a wedding there so that they
Hmm.
can see, oh, let me
Hmm.
see what it looks like, an actual wedding in that space. And I feel like we've done a little bit of this. Kari, do you have kind of a
Yeah.
post like that on your website?
Yeah. I mean, I up until the start of this year, I was blogging fairly regularly because Jody, who used to be on my team, she's no longer, she was managing all of that. And so she would often like we would blog about either weddings or like other topics that we wanted to like educate on, but she was constantly linking back to older blogs. So
Or-
yeah, that was something we were definitely doing. But it's fascinating that you're saying that she said like blogging is the thing to keep doing.
Yes, because isn't that always every year we hear is blogging dead?
Right.
No, it's not.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
how can it die? It's
Right.
literally words that are living on your website to target the right people.
Hmm.
How else will they find us?
Right. Yeah. I don't know why I never thought that people were Googling in Chat GPT to find something. Like I have not done that myself because I don't think I thought about it that way. It was mostly like helping me figure stuff out. But that is really interesting to know.
Yeah, and you know what other search is really interesting because we'll talk about Chat GPT next, which was another one of the sessions. Um, if you go and put in who are the best wedding planners in Los Angeles and why, and have it analyze because it can be very smart and it can really pop up with some deeper research
Mhm.
about certain things. And you can also ask it, like, hey, why is feathered arrow events not popping up in the search results? If you're not, maybe you are, maybe you're number one.
Yeah.
But you can ask it, like, why am I not? And it will answer you maybe why your competitors are versus why you're not. Or if you want to ask it for specific search terms, like, why am I not popping up when clients are searching bright and colorful wedding planner type of thing?
Sure. Hmm.
Ask it those questions. Like, it's amazing
Interesting.
how deep you can go with it.
Yeah. I've had Chat GPT help me with my website before to like give me feedback on it and different pages, but I didn't even think about like who are coming across as the top planners in Los Angeles. I'm gonna do that this week.
I know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, really fun.
Have you done it for yourself in Nashville?
Brief, yeah, just during that session, I did. I need to ask it more specific questions because I was not coming up in the general search of like best
Okay.
wedding planners, of course, because I haven't been there that long, and also I'm not competing with some of those planners. Like we're
Right.
so
Right.
different that I'm like, okay, I gotta get a little more specific. So I still
Yeah.
have to do a little deeper research with that. But
Okay.
okay, so that leads me to the other session, which was AI. And Brittany Long is the educator for AI. I will admit that I kind of maybe is how you feel right now, Kari. Like I use ChatGPT for the most basic stuff, like write an email to say this. And I don't think I understood how helpful it can be. And the whole session was about how to train AI to be a team member working for
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And I won't go into like the technical side, but we essentially created our own GPT during the session, which we had it ask us questions to
Oh.
better know us. And we put in certain prompts, and it would then auto ask us a bunch of questions that we would answer in our voice and whatever. And it started to build what she called a knowledge GPT or a knowledge database or something like that.
Hmm.
And so now every time I ask it something, it digs into that knowledge first and it understands who I am and what my voice is. And it spits out way more on brand information. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I didn't do when I first started chat GPT, like it would answer me like a robot. And I'm like, that's
Right.
so not something I would write in my email
Right.
copy or anything like that. So spending a lot more time training it was worth it. We ended up all having to upgrade to the $20 a month
Mm,
ChatGPT service because we were using it so much.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, but it like 100% so worth it. You can even make it do, we started building a customer service GPT. And essentially, what we would do is we would give it instructions like, okay, step one, analyze the email. If the email is a vendor reaching out, then respond in a way to either get them a call on my calendar or
Mm,
thank them for their time, but we're not interested. If
right.
the email is from a client that needs something, respond in this way. And so you can really have it connect to your emails and pre-draft a bunch of emails. Like I haven't gone that far to
Yeah.
connect everything because it's still a lot of work,
Yeah.
but damn, the
That's
automation.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I mean I would love to know some of those prompts to share with people. I feel like I've asked enough questions or like shared more about my business that I feel like it's gotten to know me a little bit better. But there's obviously still things that I'm like, I would not say that, or that sounds really cheesy. But I have gotten into more, I guess, like deeper knowledge from it, where it's like sharing, it's like, would you like a business plan for this? And, or like a strategy to launch this or a marketing plan. And so there is a lot more that I'm learning about how helpful it can be to kind of even just bring ideas to make them more concise for me. And then it like triggers something else in my thought process of like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Or, just it helps me kind of move forward, I feel like. Because Gabby, you and I talk all the time about we have all these ideas and we like don't move forward or we get stuck on something. And I feel like this has been helpful just to think through things and like take the next step.
Yeah, you're right. It creates a bit of a plan for us. And that kind of the last thing I'll say about this AI is well, two things. One of the sessions was about storytelling with Akua, and she really helps you develop this like story library of all these things that you start to think about, like, oh, that happened to me. I'm going to write it in my notes app.
Mm,
And because it might turn into a newsletter later on that you can relate to, the whole concept of email marketing is we have to be relatable, right?
yep.
And so we took it a step further because we had just listened to the AI conversation and we said, oh my God, let's start a GPT about our storytelling library. And so we started that and we have we asked the GPT or the chat. I know we've been calling it Chatty G. So we asked Chatty G to ask us questions to help us build our story library. And so some of the questions that it'll ask was like, uh, tell us about an embarrassing wedding story that you did when you were first getting started. And so I answered it, and you can answer as like, brainstorm, brain dump as much
Hmm.
as you want because it'll turn it into something later on. And
Right.
so I brain dumped this whole story about how I accidentally poured the sand ceremony sand
Oh yeah.
self, as you recall.
Yep.
And then I said, great, turn this story into a relatable email newsletter. And it did. And I sent it to my audience just to do a test. And I got a high open rate from it. And
Nice.
it was really interesting. And I want to play with that a little bit more. And I even think for our podcast, like that's a fun activity to do to feel more relatable to our audience. And so that was one of the other sessions, the storytelling. Like that is so powerful, especially in this day and age of social media that we see so much content. How do we really connect with people, you know?
And I feel like that's such a good link to last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, when Sarah was talking about starting in the middle of the story and sharing with your audience, like getting them hooked on a story and they're going to read more into your email or whatever you're sharing. Um, so yeah, really being storytellers and not just like, here's some more information about what's going on in my company, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like truly the rest of the week, there were so many, there were a handful of other sessions like website copy, um, leadership. I guess the last one I kind of want to mention, just because I could go on about this forever and I still want to make it an
Yeah.
episode, but the leadership portion was led by Ashley. And Kari and I were just talking before we jumped on. She teaches about four temperaments. And I think we should put the quiz in the show notes because
Oh, for
it's
sure.
just the color quiz, thecolorquiz.com. And you get to find out what type of personality you are in one of four colors. And each color represents basically how you are a leader or how you are a worker, depending on where you are in your company.
Hmm.
What motivates you, what triggers you, how you're best, how you can be your best self, and also how you act when you're not your best self. But that was so eye-opening to me because it gave me permission to realize that I can't help it. I just have a ton of ideas, but I struggle with implementation.
Hmm.
Whereas one of my lead planners is the super detail oriented person. And I was like, okay, so I could be the idea person, the visionary. She could step into more of the details, logistic roles. And so I came home after that and I pitched it and I said, like, hey, if I start passing off most of my logistics to you, would you enjoy doing that? And I can still execute the wedding. I can
Yep.
still brainstorm the design ideas, but I now will have more time to go out and get more business because I'm
Yeah.
the visionary of the brand. I need
Hmm.
to go network. And that's where I felt like I was struggling is I didn't have enough time to do all the things. And and if I'm being honest, I really don't like the logistics. I'm not as detail oriented in that way. Whereas I
Mm.
can think of the big picture, I can think of the experience, all that kind of stuff. But the nitty gritty is not my jam.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't mind the nitty-gritty sometimes, the details. I love that, but I think the repetition of it
Mm.
get makes me bored. So that is definitely a difficult thing for me, where I'm like, I need something different. Like creating the same timeline over and over is difficult for me.
Yes. Well, that's maybe where AI comes in with a little automation for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all really fascinating. Well, we should put the quiz link in the show notes, and then can you share some of those questions that you use to get what did you call him?
Chatty G.
Chatty G to get to know you better?
Yes. Yes, it's literally something we copied and pasted from her presentation and she gave us the show notes. So I'll go find that. I'll make sure it's okay with her. But
Yeah.
yeah, and we can link all of the educators too because they all have a ton of
Yeah.
free resources and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But all that to say, I know Ashley is accepting a few more people in the abundance group, and we can link that information below. I will say she still wants to keep it small. So I do not know what that capacity looks like because there's already 30 of us. And
Hmm.
she's like, I want to make sure I give everybody one-on-one time. But yeah, I like had to share it because I came back fired up, not only fired up, but like I have clarity on where I'm going forward and also how to
Amazing.
implement. Yeah, and how to
Yeah.
just implement this stuff. I'm not just overwhelmed with content.
Yeah.
I'm going to implement, and I already have implemented some of these things. So
Very cool.
that's
Well,
that.
hopefully this will help people to figure out what they want to move forward with and clarify their business strategy.
Yeah, and if you don't know, ask Chatty G.
Yeah. All right, Jabbers, we will be back in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.